He got a parking ticket once. He paid it immediately. He got 10 hours of sleep last night. Every 6 months, he changes the batteries in his remote control, just in case. He cannot decide on his favorite number. There are just too many. He hates the English. Last November, he watched the documentary Cardboard from Around the World. He is the least interesting man in the world. I don't always watch TV, but when I do, I prefer the box score. It starts now, my friends.
I don't know a lot about sports, but I can drink a lot of beer.
My motto is simple: C's get degrees.
Need a long, inappropriate hug? I'm your man.
I think I'm smarter than you, because I probably am.
Howard Coward for box score.
Hello and welcome to the Box Score. I'm Brock in Los Angeles. They are the Danettes out in Milford, Connecticut. Another shocking development yesterday for the NFL. According to the Associated Press, the league office had received that Ray Rice video back in April. The news, of course, was so big that NBC folks reached out and asked Dan to come on the Today Show to talk about the impact of the story. Paulie, what was the last major sports story DP was asked to talk about to the news?
Well, you know, Brock, he gets asked more than you might know because, like Joe Scarborough show is asked before, Today's Show is asked before, many other news shows ask, but the time of day that they're usually on is a real big conflict because usually they're on from 7 to 9 in the morning or early morning or early afternoon. And because of our show, you got to jump through quite a few hoops to get that done. As smooth as it looked on the air, it took about a dozen different people changing their entire schedules to get that hooked up.
Maybe he makes time for Kathy Lee and Hoda. Who knows? Okay, the boss wants to wait for this whole thing to play out. It's Wine Wednesday before passing judgment on what Roger Goodell should do, whether stepping down or not. Terry O'Neill of the National Organization of Women took a different path.
Explain to me what you're calling for with the NFL.
So we want the Commissioner Goodell to step down, to resign, and we want his successor to appoint a truly independent investigator who would be fully empowered to do a top-to-bottom review. All of the incidents of domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, and stalking. And I hope NFL owners are going to begin to really pay attention to the violence against women problem that pervades the NFL and addressing what would be real solutions to change the culture of the NFL.
She had a lot of strong words there, and nothing which was, particularly revealing or shocking. We all knew beforehand what her stance was. I think what we were surprised about is as the interview went on, it didn't look like she had any plan in place specifically beyond just the stance on what the league needs to do in terms of, Roger Goodell, whether he resigns or is kicked out by the NFL owners. And that's what stuck out to me the most is, you can say what you want. Obviously, we know it's a horrible thing and, get an investigator in there, an independent person to dig deeper. But as Dan dug deeper into the interview, it looked like they don't know exactly what to do yet beyond that.
Why do we think that the president of the National Organization for Women would have a plan for how the NFL should run their business after Roger Goodell resigns?
Well, she, we all talked about it after the interview that it sounded like it's something that we would think that, they would offer up something a little more substantial as to, what they're going to do if he doesn't step I or if he isn't kicked out. So, I found...
So you're saying that they didn't talk about what specific protests are they going to do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I found that interesting. That first clip, we know how strongly they feel about the videotape and what they want to see done in terms of an investigation. But beyond that, I was hoping to hear a little bit more about their plan of attack if Roger Goodell is still the commissioner in the coming weeks and months.
McLovin, you're a journalist with Dan's close ties to the NFL. Is it inspiring to see him take on these outspoken guests onto the show and not necessarily toe the company line?
Wow. I got to be totally honest. Like, Terry O'Neill's been on all the major outlets right now. I didn't think this was a particularly putting our neck on the line move to have her. I don't know why. Because, anyone short of the NFL Network is all in on taking down Roger Goodell right now. It doesn't feel like a risky take to say Roger Goodell should be fired now. Every major outlet something happened where it became okay to go after him.
I'm surprised sometimes that we don't get any notes from our bosses or executives. Sometimes you're always kind of like, oh, back at the mothership, it didn't happen that often either. But once in a while, you're like, why are you doing this? Don't you know we have a relationship with this person? And it always comes from somewhere of someone you don't know, some suit you've never heard of before. It's rarely the people you work with on a daily basis. So between DirecTV and NBC, we've got nothing this week as far as like, ooh, why did you do this or that? And sometimes you're almost surprised that nobody comments, and not because they're not watching or listening, just because they also know that if they get in the business of dictating content, Dan's gonna flip out.
Paulie, do you remember the last time you did get a note regarding a guest?
Yeah, maybe about a year and a half ago. I wish I could remember the situation. One that stuck out to me strongly was when we were at ESPN, there was a show called Playmakers. And Playmakers got taken off the air. It was a show about, like a reality, not a reality show, like a drama about the NFL. It was really racy, but then again, it really wasn't. It was just like
compared to what real life has turned out to be.
Exactly.
It sure wasn't.
But the NFL complained about Playmakers and complained to the boss, Mark Shapiro, up at ESPN. And we actually called Mark to have him on the air, and good for him. He actually called from his room right upstairs instead of walking down to our studio and did the interview. But we didn't really get yelled at or anything like that. It was just like, it was a tense situation because we're calling out our boss, who's literally, if you looked up, his office was right above our studio.
Well, you did have a guest that's not afraid to really stir it up. Dan Le Batard was on today and gave Dan Nation a perspective they're not hearing too much lately.
Would you give Ray Rice a second chance?
Yeah, I would. But again, I'm lenient on these things. I personally wouldn't fire Roger Goodell, but I think that's where we're headed. We're headed toward, we're headed toward him being responsible for the things on, that land in and around his office. So I'm always for the second chances. I'm always for forgiveness. I'm always for empathy. I've been very critical of Roger Goodell over the years. Like, this has been a pretty sudden turn here, Dan. Like, you remember when he was popular? Do you remember when all this stuff, heavy-handed stuff, was being applauded by the masses? This is an amazing bit of symbolism we've arrived at here. If the most punitive commissioner in the history of sports ends up losing his $42 million a year job because he wasn't punitive enough.
Yeah. Dan Le Batard said, actually verbalized some of the things I've been thinking. Like, it's almost impossible to avoid, there's a large strain of hypocrisy in the media coverage of this, inevitable. It's not even people's fault. But there are people, we've noted that there are people calling for Goodell to step down now who did not call for it before the video came out. That's kind of inexcusable. Then there's also the fact that people, you know how people are. A year from now, the same people are calling for Goodell's head. If Goodell remains in office, they'll probably praise him a year from now. Le Batard talked a lot about the momentum of a media story. Once it starts, it snowballs. Once it starts going, and he talked about sort of like a Twitter mob, then it's hard to stop. I think there was definitely some truth in some of that. It was pretty contrarian, but I definitely thought Le Batard hit on some of the feelings that I've had, but couldn't quite verbalize.
All right, well, let's lighten it all up because after the break, we're going to take a little vacation in New York City. That'll be nice, won't it? Stick around.
At this place, though, you may see some famous people.
Guaranteed we'll see Clinton Portis, I could tell you that.
I might misidentify some.
You might see, yeah, I know. So, you have maybe a tumbler of Shellback rum and a cigar tonight.
Sweet.
You guys gonna smoke a cigar?
Heck yeah.
I love the leather chairs. Very supple,
there's
rich
so many
mahogany.
things around a cigar that stress me out. The cutting the tips, lighting it the correct way.
So great.
I would like
It's like golfing. It's the process and the everything.
Yeah. But if you do it wrong, you look like an idiot.
Welcome back to the Box Score. Tomorrow, the crew will be in New York City, the New York City Man Cave. Tonight they travel. So Dan is already making plans for tonight's cigar lounge. I'm not a big cigar guy. I usually get to those after I've only made about 75 poor drinking decisions. Seton, you seem to be on the other side of this. Are you pretty stoked to have a Macanudo and maybe toss back a couple with the boss?
Yeah, I'm definitely into it. I mean, I think I kind of enjoy the novelty of places like this because it's so far removed from what like real life is to me that it's like, wow, you get to walk into these like just weird places that are really cool, and I definitely am like the sore thumb of the room. But it's like I try to play the game of like, is this guy look like such a scumbag because he's got that much money?
Right.
Probably. So that's what I go for when I walk into these kind of places.
Scumbag.
Paulie, the cigar lounge sounds pretty sweet. What's the coolest place the boss has gotten you guys into that you had no business hanging out in?
There's a list. I don't even know where to start. Our life is based upon that, Brock. There was a Super Bowl once where I walked in with Dan to a skybox, and Paul McCartney was standing in the doorway, and I almost threw up. I mean, Paul McCartney, I was like, oh. And even Dan was just like, hey, Paul. And even, I have no idea if Paul McCartney knows who Dan is, but Dan sure acted like he did. And the other one was, for me personally, the Howard Stern birthday bash. That was where you saw celebrities from low end to high end, like anyone from Perez Hilton to Robert Downey Jr. That was surreal.
Yeah, for me, it was less, like getting into a club or a bar or something like that. Just more opportunities, whether it's private jets with Dan and Costas going to an award show in North Carolina, Adam Sandler movies, ringing the closing bell on Wall Street. Just things like that have just been amazing. That without our affiliation with Dan, there's no way. I don't think any of us would have ever had an experience like that.
There's that place in the Village, too, in New York City, the Italian Rifle Club or Italian Gun Club or whatever. That was pretty crazy. We definitely had no business being there as they hid us in a private room. But yeah, it's like you go there, you drink a bunch and eat a bunch of pasta, and then eventually some dude walks in and goes, all right, let's go shoot some guns. And you walk downstairs in this townhouse, and there's like a range there. That was weird.
Well, a little bit more peaceful, man. Jim Parsons will be dropping by the New York City Man Cave to join you guys. And let's see, Dan got an emailer making plans for Jim's next career move.
This is from Jake. Maybe a lighter topic today. Discuss if Jim Parsons would be a good fit to replace Alex Trebek on Jeopardy. You've got him in tomorrow. It'd be great to hear his response. Great shows this week. Keep it up. I don't think Jim Parsons is going to need a job after the Big Bang Theory, but I would hire Sheldon if I was Jeopardy. Smart, nerdy. McLovin, that's who he is.
I don't know about that.
Jim Parsons is trying to be you on the Big Bang Theory. Like geeky, nerdy guy who's tall, awkward.
I feel like my nerdiness, not by me, is played up on this show. In reality, I'm probably the coolest person in this room.
I wish I could refute that or give something. He probably is the coolest person here. McLovin, I'll never forget being at the Miami Super Bowl, and we went to like STK or something like that, and all of a sudden it wasn't the spazzy blogger guy, but a socialite walked in, and I was like, whoa, who's this guy ready to take down Miami? And it turns out it was Andrew Perloff.
Yeah, I'm always surprised McLovin's called a dork because I would love for my kids to get into an Ivy League school. I wouldn't find that dorky at all. And he covers football for a living. So he went to an Ivy League school and covers football for a living. If that's a dork, this is the biggest compliment I'm going to give you, Andrew. Sign me up.
New York City for the last 20 years, he's pretty much taken it to its knees.
Yeah, doesn't never use an iron. Showers every other day. He's cool in my book.
I'll take it, guys. But I feel like Dan, it's funny. He never says that stuff off the air. He's super nice to me. But then on the air, like his real feelings come out. Dan, we're all pretty tired because you got here. I felt that was like a very unfiltered moment by Dan, and he really feels that way. And then you flashed me with my Mr. Burns hands on the computer. I kind of look like a nerd. So I don't know. It's a struggle for me not to believe Dan when he says I'm a nerd.
But you've done all kinds of cool things. You played with the Harlem Globetrotters for one thing. How many people would love to do something like that? I don't see.
Darren Ravel played for it too, and I don't know if he's the definition of cool. I mean, Ravel's.
Hey, I know Darren. Darren's a nerd.
If you're gonna say like Pat Pitt,
and I like Darren.
Tom Brady.
Yeah, Darren is super. He's brilliant, but he's kind of a nerd.
He's super nerdy.
But nerd is in. You guys know that, right? Have you been following pop culture?
It's very hip.
Like, ask Jim Parsons. Nerd.
That
is the
doesn't
way to
mean
be.
all brands of nerd are in, though.
Right.
So,
Unaccomplished nerds, that's not cool. Accomplished nerds
nerd
are cool.
subsidiaries.
I don't. Yeah, I guess so. But like, people are proud to be nerds. Being cool is uncool.
Well, McLovin, in the early days of the show, you got a lot of comparison to Andy Dick. Isn't the character of Sheldon a gigantic upgrade?
Wow, I really look like Andy Dick right there. I'm a little taken aback right now. I didn't know which one was me and which one was Andy
You thought
Dick.
there was two pictures of you.
I guess Sheldon. Wait, but by the way,
That
Sheldon's
was in
an
the 80s
upgrade?
when you used to dye your hair a little dirty blonde kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's scary.
I don't know. I think Andy Dick was that uncool?
He was funny.
He was funny.
Yeah, but
We talk of him as if he's dead.
Yeah.
Well, I'll take Sheldon because Jim Parsons is a rock star. I mean,
really
everyone loves Jim Parsons. He beats out like mega superstars for the Emmy every
Four-time
year.
Emmy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely, but I don't know about Sheldon. That's a little.
Sheldon.
Yeah, I'll take it though.
Okay.
Give it to me, Sheldon.
You were great with Pauly Shore and in the Army now. Okay, stick around. After this, we're going to talk some college football, believe it or not. The Box Score presents Great Moments in DP Show History.
Touchdown, Notre Dame! Yes!
Thanks for watching Great Moments in DP Show History. Welcome back to the Box Score. Classic moment there. Holly and Seton
Why
just
did we
in
do that?
love with each other, celebrating another Notre Dame touchdown.
Brock, sorry to interrupt, but Seton, I have no recollection of that whatsoever. Do I have concussion syndrome? I don't remember doing that. I don't remember what the topic was. Was that on air? Was that doctored?
No CGI there. Seton, let me ask you, can you call a shot? How many touchdowns does Notre Dame score this weekend? And will there be hugging between you and Pauly?
Oh boy, how many will they score this weekend?
Who they got?
Four touchdowns. Chances are there won't be hugging between me and Paul.
I don't know if I can help it.
Okay, lock and loaded. All right, fight on. Since a full weekend of college football, full Saturday of college football is upon us, it's time to have a little college pick'em. We're going to go with the smaller conference this way. It's box score style. We don't want to go with the big ones. And we'll have you pick the team, and let's go southwest to the SWAC. Our first matchup, it's a battle of feisty felines as the Tigers of Jackson State take on the Tigers of Tennessee State. Seton, you're a fan of Tigers. Who you got?
Oh boy. You know, this one's a closer game than people think. I'm going to go with the Tigers.
Seton, I'm shocked. You sit right next to me every day. You know I love Walter Payton more than almost anything. Actually, anything. Jackson State. You got to pick Jackson State. Not only the home of Walter Payton and Eddie Payton, but they have Lamontez Ivy, their star quarterback. They're a fantastic team.
I think since the Vols get all the love in that state, I'm going to give Tennessee State some love, and the Tennessee State Tigers will take over the Jackson State Tigers.
I'm also picking Tennessee State because T.O. didn't go to Tennessee State, but he went to a school with Tennessee in it, like
Chattanooga.
Middle Tennessee Valley. He went to Chattanooga?
UT Chattanooga.
Right, same thing, right? So I'll take Tennessee State. Is that Tennessee State? Is that in Chattanooga? Or whatever?
Yeah, one of those
I'm all
weird
over
ones where it's
Tennessee
actually
State.
in Utah. Like, why
But
would
they're called Tennessee.
Like Miami of Ohio. What's up with that?
It's Tennessee adjacent. Our next matchup, they're the Bulldogs of Alabama A&M, and they're headed to Birmingham to take on the UAB Blazers. McLovin, who wins this matchup?
But tell me if I'm wrong here, but UAB is not the team that played UCLA in the Final Four in the 60s. That's UTEP, isn't it?
Correct.
But UAB, is that where Seth Greenberg coach, who is now an ESPN personality? I believe he did. So I'm going to take the UAB, whatever they're called.
I'm going to go with the UAB Blazers because I like that fire-breathing dragon logo, and that's the only reason why I'm going to go with UAB.
Yeah, UAB is actually a pretty good program, but I'm calling the upset special Alabama A&M. Jamison Lee is the quarterback. He's going to sling it. 2 touchdowns last week. I got him for 3 this week.
I have to go with the team that looked like the Dragon too, because if my son saw this and I didn't pick the Dragon to win, he would be like, "Daddy, you're crazy." Dragons always win.
A&M's the easy pick on that. Our third and final matchup, another game featuring a Tiger mascot. I guess they're big in the SWAC. The Tigers of Grambling State against the Wildcats of Bethune-Cookman. Pauly, break it down.
Well, I love the SWAC. I always watch a SWAC title game. I love hyphenated teams. Bethune-Cookman is both of them. Love Bethune-Cookman. More of a defensive team. Eric Williams, star defensive end, 3 sacks last week. Put him down for 2 this week. Bethune-Cookman. Grambling's on tough times lately. I don't think they have it in them.
I completely disagree. If I wanted my taxes done, I'd call someone named Bethune-Cookman. This is Grambling State all day.
I like Bethune-Cookman too because it's got the word "cook" in it, so you would think they would have some good tailgating if "cook" is in the name. And the Grambling State logo is weak; it looks too much like the Georgia logo, just yellow and black.
Fritzy, quickly, where is Bethune-Cookman? What state?
Bethune-Cookman is in Pennsylvania.
Incorrect.
Listen, I'll be honest. I love Bethune. I have serious questions about Cookman, but I'm going to take the Bethune-Cookman services to beat Grambling.
Oh, in the memory of Eddie Robinson and, of course, Bruce Jenner's association with Grambling State, the White Tiger of Grambling. I'm going to have to go with Grambling State in that one. Good stuff, guys. We'll keep a tally of the results and let you know next week. Still to come, we're bellying up to the bar, of course. It's last call. Welcome back to the Box Score. It's last call here at the Box Score Bar. We talked about your times in New York City earlier in the show, but we wanted to know, you guys travel a lot for work. What's your favorite city to go to, McLovin? And when you get to that place, where do you touch up when you go to that city?
Brock, I like to go running in every city I go to. One of my more memorable experiences, this is a combo of two trips, going to Eugene, Oregon, and running at Autzen Stadium where Prefontaine was running. Wow. That was awesome. And then we just went to Portland, reminded me. I love the people out there. Kind of big deal out in Portland, Oregon. So I'm going to say the Oregon area, including Bend.
I like the Eden Rock and the Fontainebleau hotels on South Beach. Brings up some good memories from my early days when I was wooing my bride.
Dude, you'd get busy at the Fontainebleau?
Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Also, I don't have a specific place in mind, but the whole French Quarter, Bourbon Street area is cool. I couldn't stay there, just like Vegas.
The French Quarter Hotel in New York City on 46th Street?
Not that one. There's New Orleans in general, but there's
probably got more action at the French Quarter in New York City.
Self-action.
Wow.
But yeah, that's always a good time. But much like Vegas, I can't stay there more than 2 days. Oh, if the towels could speak.
I like. I'm a big fan of the West Coast, so Seattle, Portland, love LA, which might seem kind of lame, but I love it there. Although the one place that I was really surprised that I enjoyed as much as I did was Indianapolis. I thought that place was awesome. I've had a great time there, and St. Elmo's bomb steak, awesome. Yeah. Shrimp and cocktail sauce. I'm sort of jonesing for it. So.
I'm going to pick a couple places down south. Oxford, Mississippi. A long time ago, there was a place called the Hoka. It was like a shack where you got southern food. And then like Auburn, Alabama, Tuscaloosa, a few other places. Like Auburn had this great bar Dan went to, we went to, called the Auburn Ale House, real original name. But it was just, I like the South a lot. I get a kick of those medium-sized towns down there.
Oh, back in my days as a contractor, I used to travel down to San Diego, and I would always touch up Lefty's in North Park and then go down to the Bluefoot
Lefty's
Bar and Lounge. Lefty's, you get an Italian beef over there. Bluefoot, coldest beer in town. All right, Seton, you got your hands full at home, as you guys all do. What's your wife's initial reaction when you tell her you're going to be out of town for work?
That reaction should tell you everything.
That's pretty much it. She's like, she gets that it's for work, but it is sort of, it's a little bit of a burden on her. So, and it's tough too because I can't really be like, oh man, I'm so hungover. Like, we had the best time. We went to the cigar bar. It was great. And she's like, oh, awesome. Our son is sick. The stove just broke. We're still doing that. Like, hey.
Seton's right. It's more the phone call home and the return home than the actual telling that you're going. Like if your wife calls and says, your oldest daughter threw up all over her bed and the youngest daughter won't sleep, and you go, oh, cool, we're going to the Playboy Mansion, call you tomorrow. You gotta temper anything we do. Like if Seton and I went out to a bar, oh, it's terrible, we went home early, blah, 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 blah,
didn't
blah.
really do much,
You have to temper everything you do.
Easy night.
Yeah, the worst thing is when you call to check in to say hi and you want to share the great time you're having and that you just were hanging out with Sandler and Dan Aykroyd at some dinner and you could hear the screaming and fighting that the kids are doing in the background and your wife just sounds very harried that she's got way too much on her plate. That's, like they said, you got to temper that and try not to make it sound like you're having that amazing a time.
That being said, we're completely listening while the kids are screaming. She's telling about how horrible her day is while Sandler's waiting for us to talk to him. Aykroyd's sitting there waiting.
We're actually being rude to them.
We're warriors. We're on the phone. We're being polite to everybody.
The worst, I should give too many details, but let's put it this way. When I went away for my first Super Bowl for 7 days, right after our baby had, a few months after our baby had been born.
Not good time.
That was a bad coming home to.
Okay, now to the man who won't be a burden on his wife, but only on housekeeping for the next 48 hours. Fritzy, who is on tomorrow?
Jim Parsons, our friend Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory, is going to stop by the New York City Man Cave. Al Michaels will join us right before he gets on a plane to Levi Stadium for NBC Sunday Night Football. Shameless plug, Bears 49ers.
Santa Clara, very nice town. Okay, thank you for watching The Box Score. Set your DVR or tune in weekdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, only on Audience Channel 239 right here on DirecTV. No cigar, but I got this.
I don't know a lot about sports, but I can drink a lot of beer.
My motto is simple. C's get degrees.
Need a long, inappropriate hug? I'm your man.
I think I'm smarter than you, because I probably am.
Hey, thanks for watching The Box Score. Holy cow!